Hello, welcome back. In the previous video, we ended up with an in-class exercise, and I asked you to do a 15-minute self-study for the following program. I hope you were able to manage to write it. If not, that's not a problem because we are going to do it together at the beginning of this video lecture. Okay, so let's look at the program once again. So we were asked to write a program that randomly generates two single-digit integers and displays a question such as what is the first number plus the second number. And then we are going to read in the answer from the user. And that message will, at the end, will indicate a message whether the answer for the user is correct or not. Okay, let's try to do it together. So we'll start with the comment. So this is an in-class exercise 1, lecture 3. Okay. So in the first step, we are going to randomly generate two integers. So I'll just call them number 1 and number 2. And I am going to copy and paste the code in here. Import random. So prior to this, I'm going to write import random. So this is a random package. So this is so we imported from the library of Python. And then random.randint 0,9, right? Random.randint 0,9. Okay, so this will give us the first number. Let's do same code. So we have two randomly generated numbers. Okay. Step 2. Let's see. Display a question. Let's display the question. So we can do it in two ways. So you can basically write a print sentence. What is number 1 plus number 2? And then a question mark. Okay. So let's actually run this. What is 1 plus 1? If you run it again, what is 5 plus 7? So we can actually keep running it. Every time it'll ask a different question. Let me actually correct the format here. So what is 7 plus 7? Or what is 9 plus 8? What is 2 plus 9? Something like this. Okay. Or we can, so we can actually do step 1 and step 2. Step 2 and step 3 in the same line. I'll just show you how it is. First, I'll do the third step as it is asked from us. So step 2 and 1 is already done. We'll do step 3. Read in the answer from the user. Okay. So read in the answer from the user. So here we have the answer. I'll just read it as an int input. Please write the answer and press enter. Okay. So what is 7 plus 6? Please write the answer and press enter. 13. And we read this as an answer here. And then now we display a message to indicate whether the number is actually correct or not. This is step 4. Check whether the answer is correct or not. We are going to use if the answer from the user double equal sign number 1 plus number 2. So this is, so you check whether the user answers, for instance, in this example, 13 is actually equal to 7 plus 6. But if the user answers, for instance, 14, then it is not equal to 13. So if it is equal to it, we'll just print correct answer, something like this. And then else, for all the other answers, incorrect answer or like wrong answer. Right, let's see. What is 0 plus 4? Well, the answer is 4. Correct answer. Let's do one more time for different for wrong answer. What is 5 plus 5? Say 11. Wrong answer. Okay. All right. So that was it. Let's check the answer one more time. So we imported random, and then we randomly generated two numbers. Okay, so as I said, you could do step 2 and step 3 in a single step. How can we do it? So you can basically copy and paste this one into here. So let's comment this out. If you actually have it, oh, okay. So yeah. Or like you can just put it on top of here. You don't have to have an additional step. So what is number 1 plus number 2? And then please type the answer and press enter. Okay. So instead of showing this message and this message separately, so there are actually ways, not going to go into detail, but you could put this one in there by assigning it to a string and then using the, printing the string here, this one in here. Or this would also suffice. So sometimes I think doing them separately is the best, because you might run into errors if you do it fast, just like I did. Or sometimes it's just too confusing. Like I sort of want to see a print separately than the answer. And then you check if the answer is actually correct or wrong. Okay, good. Let's do a quick review then. Question: if statement must be accompanied by else statement, true or false? So we actually seen it. This is false because there is a standalone if, so it doesn't have to be so it's not a must be accompanied. It could be accompanied, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, so what does the following program print? All right, let's see. We have radius 7.5. If 7.5 greater than 7, question mark, is it? Yes. True. So if true, we are in there, and what we print is, we print radius, which is 7.5. Okay. All right, so another, what does the following program print? So we have radius. If radius is greater than 8. So here is, I sort of like to write next to it and then do it by myself. Is 8 greater than 8? No. Why? it is equal to 8. It is greater than or equal to 8, but it's not strictly greater. So this is strictly greater. Greater than. Okay. So it is not, so it's false. If it's false, we go to else. And then we have radius equals to 9. So the question goes, what does the following program print? Here it doesn't print anything. Why? Because, so there is no such thing as print. And after setting this to radius, we don't go back to here and then print. So this is not the case. We just follow through, but there is nothing there, so it doesn't print anything. So it's sort of a tricky question. All right, so let's do it. Radius is equal to 8. If radius not equal to 8, okay. The negation type of questions are sort of difficult, but I'll try to do my best to explain them. So 8 is not equal to 8. Is this a correct proposition? No. Why? Because 8 is equal to 8. So if we say that 8 is not equal to 8, this is a false proposition. And what happens if it's false? We go to else. And here, after we have radius equals to 9, we print radius. So that's when we see 9 to be printed. Okay. So what does the following program print? So yeah, b equals 1 greater than 2. So b equals 1 greater than 2. So we see an equal sign. Okay, whenever you see a single equal sign, it's not a double equal sign, you look at the right hand side first. So right hand side goes 1 greater than 2. So this is a proposition comparison operator. Is 1 greater than 2? No, false. So what do? We put false on the left hand side because it's an equal, so we see an equal sign here. So we put false. We first evaluate the right hand side. We see the value that is false. And then we assign it to b. So here b is false. And then we have if b false, so basically this is if false. Since this is false, we skip the if block, right? We go to else, but there is no else in here, so we just don't print anything. The answer is C. All right, so let's look at nested if statements. So this is the third type of the selection statements. A nested if statement, that is if within an if. So for instance, you have an if statement over here. You first check whether I is greater than k. If that's true, you're inside the if block. And always see that, so this, so there is a tab, there's a black empty tab to demonstrate that within one tab inside, you have the if block, okay? This is called the if block. So this is when we are inside the true. So if this is true, we are inside the if block. And then we have another checkup. Then we do conditioning on I is greater than k. So this has to be true first. Then we are here, then we are checking if j is also greater than k. If that's also true, then we print I and j are greater than k, because we know that that is true. I is greater than j, and now j is also greater than k. I is greater than k, and j is greater than k. So if that's not true, if this is false, then we are in the else block right here, but only here. So we don't go down below. So if this is false, okay, we know that, in other words, j is not greater than k, or j is less than or equal to k. That's how we know then this is false, right? We are inside here when this is false. So if it's false, it means that j is not greater than k, or j is less than or equal to k. But I was always greater than k because we are inside the if block here, which means that I is greater than k. So you print I is greater than k. Okay. Else, if it was false, in other words, I was not greater than k. That means I is less than or equal to k. Here, we don't know about j and k. We only know that I is less than k because all the things that we check in here, inside this if block, it's only conditioning when I is greater than k. If it's less than k, we actually don't see this check because we skip that part. We directly jump into the else statement, okay? This is possible. You can write if within an if. Also, there is a multi-way if-else statement, which is going to be quite handy because sometimes, for instance, printing a letter grade based on your scores. If you have, for instance, greater than 90, you have an A. Less than 90 but greater than 80, you have a B, C, D, and an F, right? So you first check whether your grade is greater than 90. If it is true, don't need to check for anything because you know that your grade is A. Only if it is less than. So if it's false, what it means is that your score is less than 90 because you know that this proposition is false. And then you check if it is, whether it's greater than 80 or not. If it is, yeah, then you go down. If that's also false, means that score is less than 80. Then here you again check whether it's greater than 70 or not. Okay? So how do we put it into Python? So we use else if, and then else. So this is called multi-way if-else statement. So suppose the score is 70. Score is 70, okay? And then here we check whether 70 is greater than or equal to 90. So this is false. If it is false, we skip, right? We go to, so skip. You go to the else part. But you don't jump directly to the else. You don't do it. So what you do is you only go to the next step here. So the next step is score was 70. Now you have another check. So this elif stands for else if. And the else is the previous if statement. So if the previous if statement is false, so this is false, we know that. Now we check the second one. This is like 70 greater than or equal to 80. This is again false. So what do? We skip to the next part. Okay, now 70 greater than 70. So we know that this is false, this is false. We don't know if it's true. So this is true, right? If it is true, you go in. You don't skip this part. Now you go in and then you print C. So what happens afterwards? Do you check this one? Do you go here? No. You directly exit the if statement because you only go in and print the one that is the first true. So this is false, false. The first one is true. Although this is true, but this doesn't get to be checked because in order to check this part, all the previous parts must be false. So you start from the top. If it's false, go down. If it's false, go down. If it's true, then the rest we don't care. We only print this one and then exit. Okay. All right, so let's do a quick recap. So what is the following program print? Okay, so let's do 75 greater than 70. True or false? True. So we print 75. Do we go to else if this statement was true? Do we go back here and then check? No, right? Because after here we exit. We don't go see the other else if. Because the other else if or elif all previous if statements must be false to be checked. But this is true. If any of the previous if statement is true, then you do not check this part. You directly exit and then only 75 is printed. Okay. Another one that is similar. So 75 is greater than 70. This is true. So we print score. We print 75 here. Do we check if the score is greater than 65? Because this is an if statement. So now we do, because this is not else if. So if and else if, they are different. What is the difference? Always check the condition. Check the condition for if statement. But only check for else if, elif, when all previous if statements is false. So that's the difference, okay? This is really important. So this is a standalone if. So it doesn't really matter if the first one is true or false. We don't care. It's just a different if. So we do check 75 greater than 65. That's true. Here we increment by 10. 85, because this is an increment operation, plus equals. And then we print 85 after we print 75. So the answer is 75 and 85. That is C. Okay. So score is 75. Let's do 75 greater than 70. This is a true. So we are inside if. For else, we never check this part, because the if statement is true. Else is not needed anymore, but we have another if statement inside the if statement. We still have to check this. 75 less than 60. True or false? That is a false. So since this is false, we also skip this part. We go down and we already skipped this else because the else belongs to this guy. So look at the alignments. So they are aligned. So that means that this belongs to here. So it doesn't belong to there. Don't be confused with that. We actually have in the second example, we have that it belongs to the second one. But in particular case, this program does not print anything. The answer is C. Okay, now it's a different story, right? So 75 is greater than 70. True or false? True. Here we are inside the if block. And always be careful about the alignments. So this if statement does not have an else, but these two, they belong to each other because they're aligned, right? So you have score less than 60. So you have 7 less than 60. This is false. So we have, since this is an if else, if it's false, we are down there. Score plus equals 10. Used to be 75, now it's 85, and then you print 85. The answer is B. Alright, so one common pitfall is that the else clause that matches the first if clause, you must align them accordingly. For instance, if you need an else clause for this condition, you must put them on the same alignment. If you put them here, that means that they align to each other. In this example, if you want to print B, you'd have to align them here because otherwise this does not print anything. So make sure that the alignments are correct. So it's not that the else belongs to the latest if. It is not the case. It belongs to the one that they align together. So this is not because this comes after this one. It's because they are aligned. Okay. All right. So I'll stop the video here because I want to give you some practice time. So this is an in-class exercise number 2. Practice at home. So take 10 minutes or even a bit more time. Doesn't really matter. So write a program that prompts the user to enter an integer for a day of the week. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7. 1 stands for Monday, 7 stands for Sunday, okay? And then check whether the corresponding day is a weekday or a weekend, and then display the result. So take 10 minutes and afterwards we are going to continue with the third part of this video lecture. So I'll give you a break and I'll be back at the next video. So I'll see you in the next video.